Okay, all right. So let's just pretend I didn't say any of that awesome stuff, right? That was great teaching, right? Okay, now we're recording. I just had the flu. I'm lucky to be here. Okay, so they came to the palms. There were 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees. And I just did this great teaching on how that's like connected to the rest of the Bible. But that's up to you to figure out where that goes. 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees. Check the book of Revelation for 12s and 7s. And they camped there by the water. Then they set out from the palms. Anytime the Bible says Elim, that word means the palm trees or the palms. And all the congregation of the people, all the group of the people of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin. Sin means black, darkness. So they come to this black wilderness, this wasteland, which is between Elim, the palms, and Sinai, the famous Mount Sinai. On the 15th day of the second month after they had left from the land of Egypt. So they're exactly 2.5, does this sound kind of familiar? They're exactly 2.5 months outside of Egypt now, but not all that far away. And the whole group of the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. Is this their first time where they're like, you know who's really stupid and dumb and we don't want to follow anymore, and they're just kind of smelly in general? Moses and Aaron. Is this the first time that they grumbled against them?
No, this is probably like the 4th or 5th time.
Probably like the 4th or 5th time. Yeah, we know that before they even left Egypt, they were like, Moses, why did you even come here? Pharaoh was only trying to kill us before, but he was kind of bored with it. And now you've reminded him how much he hates us. And we, did you just need to come here to get us killed? Is that why you came here? And then when they get out of Egypt, they're like, yeah, woo, God's awesome. And then right on the heels of that, they're like, hey, Moses, have you noticed how we're in between 2 mountains and a sea? And there's just kind of this thing called the Egyptian army chasing us down. What, was there not enough graves in Egypt that you brought us out to this desert to die? And now they get into Sin. And the first thing we hear about them is everybody's grumbling against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And, verse 3, the people of Israel said to them, it would have been better if we died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt. We should have just stayed in Egypt and made God mad enough to kill us. This is ridiculous, is what they're saying. What? like, hey, remember how God killed the Egyptians? Man, I really wish he would kill us too, is what they're saying. And they should have killed us while we were sitting by the meat pots.
What's a meat pot?
They were being worked to death last time they were in Egypt. But they were like, hey, wouldn't it have been better if God had just killed us while we were sitting next to the big old cauldrons full of meat at the buffet? Wouldn't it have been better if God had just killed me at the buffet when I had all the food I wanted? What are you talking about? Let me tell you something. The Bible says in Proverbs, don't look back on the days of the past and say, oh, they were so good. But these days are just worthless. Don't do that. Because it's the Bible says that it's emptiness to do that. But I'll give you my translation. It's stupid and you're wrong. Because your brain does this thing to you. Your brain loves to make you feel stupid. Your brain loves to take what actually happened and mix it with how you feel right now and change your memory of what happened. Does that make sense? So these Israelites were being starved to death. They were having their babies being forced to be exposed and die out in the sun, drowned in the river. They were being beaten daily by their taskmasters, whose job was to give them more work than they could possibly do, so they had an excuse to beat them. Right? That's what was going on in Egypt. And now they're like, these people who were beaten so badly and oppressed so horribly and only survived that by being delivered from it by the Lord. It's like, hey, remember how great it was in Egypt? Remember when we had all the meat we could possibly eat and all the food we could possibly eat? Oh, I wish God had just killed us there. That would have been so nice. instead of this miserable freedom we're enjoying here in the wilderness. Why are they grumbling? Because they got hungry. They got hungry once with Moses, and they're like, it was so much better with Pharaoh, I tell you. He was out to murder us, but he was such a good guy. It's nuts. It's your brain playing tricks on you, and they're falling for it. And honestly, I probably would have been in the same place. I would have been like, the first few times I'd be like, I think Moses has got it going. This whole, actually God being physically present with us in the form of the pillar of cloud and smoke is pretty cool, which, by the way, was still going on. Can you imagine? They're in the shadow of God's presence, and they're like, who's really dumb? The only guy who actually talks to God face to face. That guy's leading us down the wrong path. Anyway, so remember when we sat by the meat pots and we ate bread to the full? Because you've brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole group with hunger. Then the Lord said to Moses, check this out. I am about to rain food from heaven for you. And the people will go out and gather a day's portion every day so that I can put them to the test. So I can test them. You guys ever take a test in school?
Yeah.
Have you ever had a test
Yes.
where honeyed how would you put this? Honeyed seed cakes fall from sky, and you gather them up and eat them every day? Have you ever had that test?
Nope.
I don't think it's a math test. Is it geometry maybe? Because you have to walk around and gather them up. This is a different kind of test, isn't it? The Lord is literally hand-feeding these guys, and all they got to do is walk out the door of their tent and pick up enough for the day.
What?
You want to know something crazy?
What?
God still does that today. Only, it's not honeyed seed cakes that fall from the sky. It's the words of God. Do you know that God's got words outside for you to go pick up every day? He's got words for you to live by. And Jesus said, a man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that falls from the mouth of God. Right? God's got words all around town for you, and you go and collect them up. How do you do it? You just go get them. You think that the people that set out to go gather the bread from heaven ever came back disappointed? I just couldn't find any today, babe. Sorry, you're going to have to go hungry. I found some for me, but that's more for me. No, you go out there, you scoop it up, and you go on with your business. It's that easy to gather the words of the Lord for you. You got to go do it, though. Does that make sense? Okay, moving on. He did that to test them. So, whether they will walk in my law or not. Verse 5, on the sixth day, when they prepare what they bring in, it will be twice as much as they gather daily. So, you'll gather up on the sixth day of the week, and then wow, this is twice as much all of a sudden. Now that I'm actually cooking it and making little cakes out of it, turns out it's twice as much as I need today. So what do?
Make twice as many cakes.
We'll see. So Moses and Aaron said to all the people of Israel, at evening you will know that it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. And in the morning you'll see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against the Lord. Because what are we that you grumble against us? What are we, says Moses, standing right next to Aaron. What are you doing complaining against us? With the Lord, he knows you're actually complaining against him. And he's going to show you what he can do. And Moses said, when the Lord gives you in the evening food to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, because the Lord has heard your grumbling, that you grumble against him. What are we? I already did that. Grumbling is not against us, but against the Lord, Moses says. And in church today, right? You know who's really dumb? Pastor Casey. He's just such a, I would have been better off getting killed by Dad while I was at home than hopping in the car and going to church, right? And I would have been so much better for me if I just, fallen off a bridge by accident than come to class today. But if you grumble against me, what you're really doing is you're grumbling against the Lord, because all I'm doing is bringing you what he's bringing down. Get it? Not to put myself in that place, but it's still relevant today. Then Moses said to Aaron, say to the whole group of the people of Israel, Come near before the Lord, because he's heard your grumbling. And as soon as Aaron spoke to the whole group of the people, they looked toward the wilderness, and check this out. The glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. So there's this cloud of glory. It's the Shekinah. And it's talked about all over the place in the Bible. It's that same cloud that was between them and the Egyptian army. And the Egyptians were like, okay, as soon as that awesome cloud is gone, we'll kill them. And so many other places. Moving on. And the Lord said to Moses, I've heard the grumbling of my people. Say to them, at twilight you're going to eat food, and in the morning you'll be filled with bread. Then you will know that I'm the Lord your God. In the evening, quail came up, and they covered the camp. So, you guys wanted meat, right? You guys wanted protein. You wanted flesh? How about quail? Let me tell you something about quail. They're delicious. Quail are absolutely delicious. You want to know another thing about quail? They're really stupid. Like you quail will walk right up to you and they're like, hey, what's that? Are you going to kill me? And you're just like, yep. And you grab them and you break their neck. And then the next one's just like, wow, that didn't seem to work out very well, but do you have any food for me? And you grab them and you break their neck. Quail are really, really dumb, right? They're like lambs to the slaughter here. And these quail came up and they covered the camp. With their dead bodies. All these dead birds start falling from the sky. God's like, you want meat? Zam up. And just thousands upon thousands. It's got to be millions and millions of quail here. Because there's millions of Jews here. And if they're all going to eat, there's like multiple quail per person. So there's millions of dead quail falling from the sky. And your neighbor, because you would never be this dumb, right? Your neighbor is just like, hey, you know what I should do with the dead bird? Is just start tearing into it with my teeth. Okay. And they start tearing into them. You guys ever see a dead bird? What does mom and dad say when you see a dead bird? Before you even poke it with a stick, they're like, don't touch it. So you're like, okay, I won't touch it, but I found a good poking stick, right? And you poke it, like, yeah, that's good and dead. And you flop it over, and like half of it is sort of like the juices came and like stuck to the skin, you know? And then you're like, ooh, that's not fresh. But these ones are fresh, right? So not only is little Mordecai poking it with a stick, but it says like, you know what, I'm really hungry. And it just tears into this thing raw. Ugh. I ate some undercooked chicken a while back, and I got a little bit sick. But that was like quality, you know, farm-grown chicken that was then deep fried. And there was a little bit of pink in the middle, and it's like, I don't know about this, but I'm really hungry, and I ate it. And I was like, you know what, I might be sick. And then the next day, I got a little bit sick. But these guys, they're full on. I'll tell you the story. In the evening, the quail came up, and in the morning, dew lay around the camp. Then when the dew was gone, there was on the face of the wilderness a fine flake-like thing, fine as frost on the ground. And when the people of Israel saw it, they said to one another, manna, right? This is manna. Manna, what is this stuff?
Banana?
And it's not, hey, what's that? It's, what is this stuff? What is this stuff? Do you want somebody to come into your room and look at like your prized possessions and be like, what is this stuff? Is that how you want to feel? That's the way the Israelites were treating this stuff. This is what manna means. What is this stuff? So, this what sits on the ground. And when the people of Israel saw it, they said to each other, what is this? Because they didn't know what it was. And Moses said to them, told you, it's the bread that the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Gather of it, each one of you, as much as he can eat. You shall each take an omer, according to the number of persons that each of you has in his tent. Okay, an omer per person. How much is that? Off the top of my head, I think it's about a quart. So like a quarter of a gallon. A good sized jar, you know, just you eat it. Okay, moving on. Gather an omer per person, for each person. You shall take an omer. And the people of Israel did so. They gathered some more and some less. But when they measured it with an omer, whoever gathered much didn't have any more than an omer per person. Wouldn't that be weird? You know how there's always somebody that's like a go-getter? They're like, free food! And they're just like, they're stuffing their robes with it. And they're like, okay, let's fill an omer. And it's just like, wow, that just fills an omer. And then there's one guy who's like, I'll gather for a little while. And he's just like, okay, done. You know, move on. Are we done yet? Huh? Are we done yet? And But even the person that just kind of lazily gathered, or just did a little bit, a token effort, they got exactly an omer. And the person who was going for it, who's like, free food, heck yeah, and they gathered as much as, whatever, they go to measure it. It's exactly an omer. You mean the guy? Unfortunately, at this point, the camera's battery died. I'll try to avoid that in the future. But that's it for this chapter of the Bible. Catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.